As a step toward honoring the truth and achieving healing and reconciliation, we are opening our program with an acknowledgement that Wheaton College is on the traditional territory of the Wampanoag. We practice this acknowledgement to recognize and respect the Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards and owners of this land. This is one step we can take to correct the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture.
Good evening. I'm pleased to welcome you to our annual Honors Convocation ceremony. Each year, just prior to commencement, we gather to recognize members of our community who have excelled in their academic, intellectual, and creative pursuits. To begin, I invite you to stand and join George Lane from the class of 2026 in singing the Wheaton hymn. The music is located in the back of your program.
Good evening, everyone. To start with the Wheaton hymn, we will be singing the first verse, the second verse, and the fourth verse. We praise thee, Lord, whose lives we are, for those who early heard thy call, seeking a future high from far, laying the dearest stones above. Every dawn of other days, made other men and other ways. They builded better than they knew. They trusted what he could not see. He heard the sound of voices new, singing of all the years to be. And for both man and womankind, an inner temple of the mind. 100 years pass like a dream, that early founders still are we. Works are greater than they seem, because of what who yet shall be. The bright noon of other days, other souls, other way.
I was going to say please be seated, but you took care of that yourselves. We join together to acknowledge the dozens of students who have been recognized by National Honor Societies and by Wheaton College, from Phi Beta Kappa inductees to our Balfour Scholar Award recipients. Please join me in congratulating these students. We will also present departmental and college-wide awards. While some of these awards are given to continuing students whose departments are recognizing their promise in a given field, most awardees are seniors who, during their time on campus, have distinguished themselves as scholars and academic citizens of Wheaton College. This is also a day to honor our faculty members who have been so important in the lives of these students, including the Senior Class Faculty Appreciation Award winner. And finally, we will announce the faculty members who have been chosen by their colleagues to hold an endowed professorship for the next 5 years. Now it is my pleasure to introduce this year's keynote speaker, Joel Relihan, Professor of Greek, Latin, and Ancient Mediterranean Studies from the Department of History and Humanities. A member of the faculty since 1993, Professor Relihan has devoted his career to the study and teaching of Latin and classical literature, with a particular expertise in late classical and early medieval texts. He received his PhD in classics from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and has served Wheaton in numerous leadership roles, including Associate Provost and longtime Chair of the Classics Department. Professor Relihan is an internationally recognized scholar whose work explores authors such as Boethius, Apuleius, as well as the tradition of Menippean satire. He is the author and translator of numerous books, including widely used editions of The Consolation of Philosophy and The Golden Ass, and most recently, The Tale of Lucius, or The Ass. In addition to his scholarship, he is a dedicated teacher and mentor, having guided generations of students through their study of the ancient world. We are pleased to welcome him and honor him as this year's Honors Convocation keynote speaker.
Have to decide which glasses. Good afternoon. It is good that we are here. My sincere thanks to the administration, to President Whelan, Provost Millen, who extended to me this invitation and this honor, to Vice President of Student Affairs Parker, to the trustees, to all through whom I have the opportunity of working in this place and being here at this moment, and to my colleagues with whom I gladly share the burden and the joy of teaching in this place and at this moment, and to our students, some of whom have been in my classes, many of whom have not, for whom I have the obligation of speaking in this place and at this moment about silence. I've heard it said, and I believe it, that language is the most important of all human creations. It gives us the opportunity to preserve the past and imagine the future, and in the present time, it offers us the intoxicating possibility of meaningful communication among ourselves. Speech joins us, we hope. I'm here on a hopeful embassy, I believe, the meeting of the minds. But there are darker aspects of this medium of exchange. First, language makes it possible for us to lie. Hateful to me as the gates of hell, Odysseus says, is the man who says one thing but keeps another buried in his heart. Of course, Odysseus is a notorious liar, and maybe he didn't mean what he said, but I know something you don't know draws a line between us. So, more generally, language is a powerful tool for dividing ourselves into exclusionary groups. More lines drawn I don't mean the barriers between languages enforced since Babel, but the barriers among speakers within a language, the jargon and the argot, the in-jokes and the shared references, the verbal winks and nods that identify people like us and separate us from people not like us. Who goes there? We are all password protected. I'm as guilty as the rest. But that exclusionary problem goes still deeper. Language deceitfully dangles in front of us a fantasy of power, inspiring us a conviction that if we just knew the right word, we would understand the thing, or with consequences much more dire, the person. Reason's legitimate desire to understand the phenomenal world, to make labels and assign categories and create hierarchies, to reduce chaos to order, can quickly become a nasty impulse to cut off, to circumscribe, to isolate, to trivialize, to put people in their place. Here I must tell you a story. My daughter Grace once applied for a job within the office of the chief medical examiner on Albany Street in Boston as an autopsy technician. There was a first morning interview for interested candidates explaining the nature of the job. Not everyone came back the next day, which involved going to a scene and bringing back a body to the morgue. Grace went that second morning, and when I picked her up afterwards, I took her to lunch. She sat silent across the table from me. I respected her obvious need for silence, but I found myself trying to read her face. What was the right word? Was she ashen? Ghostly? Was she drained? Traumatized? I was searching for an adjective that would label what I saw, feeling that if I found the right word, I would understand the person in front of me, what she'd been through, what she was feeling. But then I thought, what colossal, by which I mean monstrous, and out of all proportion, arrogance, by which I mean the act of demanding for myself that which is not mine to take. What colossal arrogance this is, this belief in the power of a word. For I realized in that moment what would happen. If I settled on a word, I would cease to think about my daughter and would think about the word instead, how I knew it, where I'd read it. And the word would bring with it its history, its etymology, and what was alive before me would become a cliche. The word, if such a word existed, would not have been a tool for thought and feeling, but an off-ramp from thought and feeling. It would have a life of its own, and that was not the life that I was interested in. So I tried the best I could to put all such considerations out of my mind and sat in silence myself. She took the job. When my words returned to me in silence, I learned a lesson. And that moment of clarity has stayed with me. It has never stopped rattling around in my head. And when the provost made his offer, I quickly said yes, because I've long wanted to put this on paper and say it out loud and try to speak in public about this paradox, dealing in speech with the profound, by which I mean lying at the very base and foundation, the profound limitations of speech. There are things that stand rugged and immovable like cliff faces against which the waves of our words crash and fall back defeated. God, soul, self, love, death. These our words cannot put in their place. Each attempt at definition backfires. It is not only in the world of national politics that each accusation is a confession. I do not know what you are. It means I do not know who I am. But each necessary attempt to understand, each word deployed in an effort to say what is true about what is beyond our grasp, is a valuable probing, a salutary testing of limits, not only of the thing, but of ourselves. I cannot comprehend, get my arms around, grasp, take in God, love, death, in words. But every attempt in words to confront God, love, death, shows me to myself. Our words, if we dare to use them, despite their inadequacies, discover the force fields around reality, outlines and contours, if not substance. And when our words rebound, repulsed, they reveal us to ourselves, not in words, but in silence. So I believe. It is this valuable inability of words to comprehend what is most important that teaches us how to use the words of every day. We do ourselves moral harm when we use language badly. It imprints something bad on our souls. Socrates says, we must be aware of our limits and the limits of speech. We must resist the attempt to use words for aggrandizement, for power. We know people for whom words are weapons, who wield big words, patriotism, truth, freedom, race, like blunt cudgels, like children playing with guns. We must not be like them. It may be tempting now to retreat under fire, to mere closed-mouthed silence, the silence of prudence, of modesty, of deference, of despair, to keep our speech to yes, yes, and no, no, and say that everything else is from the devil. But words are what we have, and we are obliged to use them right. And how shall we use them? How shall we rummage through this pirate's chest of dazzling and dangerous English words that we inherit? This collection of bright diamonds and glass shards, its dead metaphors, ghosts of old superstitions, its slurs, its epithets, its other demeanings, but glories too. I remember the day that I was told, and there was a word, for the sound of birds as they wake before dawn, the morning chorus, and horizons opened up before me. Where your thesaurus is, there shall your heart be also. So what then can we do? What then must we do with this messy, recalcitrant, inadequate language? We must wrestle with our inheritance. We can try to hold it tight around the body like tamarind, squeeze it while it goes through all of its transformations until finally, exhausted, it becomes what we long for. Or we can, like Plato, hold it tight about the neck and strangle it until we force it to confess that it is insufficient for describing what is true. Or both. We must think like philosophers and speak and write like poets. If we would meet the moral demands that this world makes of us now, we would choose our words well, love our language for all its faults, following the lead of poets who feel the weight of the gaps between the words, following the leads of the philosophers who know the gaps between the words and the reality. And if we pay attention to the silent spaces where words do not go, we may find ourselves. So I believe, for all proper use of speech reveals us to ourselves. And how best to start on down this road? A good starting point might be a humble acknowledgement of the interconnectedness of all things, macro and micro. From there, perhaps, it is only little ways to love. Perhaps the love that guides, the love that guides the sun and other stars, as Dante says. Or the love that hides, to quote another poet, the love that hides in molecular structures. Even if we can't define it, we only feel it within ourselves, silent, when words fail us. And now the end. The beginning is the word and the end is silence, says Kate Atkinson, channeling Hamlet. And my end is silence, but not like that. Not death, but life. There are two meanings for this word, end. The first is stoppage, over and done, time to quit. We've had enough. The second is purpose, objective, final intent. We got to where we wanted to go. The one illuminates the other. But silence, revelatory silence, to quote Northrop Frye, is not the cessation of speech, not that end, but the true goal of speech. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. It means the world to me.
To utter any words right now feels like a challenge that I may not be up to. But as I say, on with the program. It is now my pleasure to present the Wheaton Chamber Singers, conducted by Professor Alexandra Lukovich. At this point in the program, we are pleased to acknowledge this year's curricular awards. In honor of the college's namesake, the Eliza Wheaton Scholars Pathway encourages students to develop the habits of mind and critical skills that come from engaging in courses across the disciplines. Eliza Wheaton Scholars take classes in the arts, sciences, humanities, and social sciences. This breadth of experience empowers them with career-ready skills, including critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Most importantly, these scholars develop empathy for different perspectives, a skill that will set them apart in the global workforce. Please turn to page 10 of the program for a listing of students graduating as Eliza Wheaton Scholars. I invite these scholars to stand and be recognized. Global Honors recognizes students who complete a rigorous curriculum that requires engagement with cultures and societies outside of the United States or outside the student's home country. Global Honors students integrate a global perspective into their work through advanced proficiency in a second language, deep study of the structure and culture of non-U.S. societies, a study abroad experience or a global project, and a reflective capstone essay. Please turn to page 12 of the program for a listing of students graduating with the distinction of Global Honors. I invite these students to stand and be recognized. The Taylor and Lane Social Justice Scholars Program asks students to address questions of social justice, inclusion, equity, and diversity through engagement within and beyond the classroom. The program provides a pathway of courses and experiences for students who are focused on social change and social justice from any major or discipline. Please turn to page 12 of the program for a listing of students graduating as Taylor and Lane Scholars. I invite these students to stand and be recognized. And at this point in the program, we will begin the presentation of departmental prizes and awards. The first award is the Paul F. Cressy Prize in Anthropology, and this year there are two winners. The first is Sundasi Balasharia. And the second is Riley Kilborn. The Friends of Art Prize is presented to Robin Elizabeth Haynes Miller. The History of Art Prize is presented to Hannah Borges. The Miriam F. Carpenter Prize in Visual Art is presented to two students. The first is Claire Berman, class of 27. And also to Callie Griffin. The Maria Victoria DeLuca Forsyth Prize in Visual Art is presented to Charlie Black. The Clinton V. McAvoy Prize in Ecology is presented to Katie Halley. The Kenneth A. Blaze Citizenship Award for Business and Management is presented to Noe Garcia Bravo. The Diana Davis Spencer Class of '60 Prize in Business and Management is presented to Lily Platt. The Alida Pastra-Landis Prize in Biochemistry has 2 winners. The first is Ashlyn Burt. And the second winner is Benjamin Lyon. The Evans Marshall Prize in Chemistry is awarded to 2 students. The first is Andrew Tran. Also winning this prize is Arden Ulmer. The CRC Press Freshman Chemistry Achievement Award is presented to Molly Breka. Class of '29. The Undergraduate Award in Analytical Chemistry is presented to Elisa Ortiz. The Undergraduate Award in Physical Chemistry is presented to Riley Kilborn. The Polyed Award for Achievement in Organic Chemistry has 2 winners. The first is Rose Gifford. And the second is Niyati Hotha, class of '28. The Jennings Family Prize in the Physical Sciences is presented to Charlotte Daniels, class of '27. The Criminal Justice, Restorative Justice, and Criminology Award is presented to Paxton Flynn Phillips. The Faculty Award in Design is presented to Almudena Naomi Soladispa Morales. The Jean Mulcahy Keefe Class of 44 Prize in Economics has 4 winners. The first is Mark Montanero. Also winning this award is Noe Garcia Bravo. Next is Michael O'Gara. And the final winner is Kushi Parikh. The Catherine Feline Prize in Economics has 2 winners. Noe, you should have just stayed up here. Noe Garcia Bravo. And also Michael O'Gara. The Banning Ford Prize in Education is presented to Mia Wolfgang. The Anne Louise Knowles from the Class of 55 Memorial Prize in English has 4 recipients this evening. The first is Diana Pink Huber. Next is Sarah Levitt. Also winning this award is Katarina Lutz. And finally, Mia Wolfgang. The Helen Myers Tate Memorial Prize for Original Verse is presented to Olivia Burdash. The Caroline Edwards from the Class of 70 Prize for Excellence in Creative Storytelling in Film and Media has 3 winners. The first is Abigail Kramer. And next is Sato Murphy. And the third winner of this prize is J.P. Tohomelik. The Caroline Edwards from the Class of 70 Prize for Film and Media also has 3 winners. The first is Max Aronson. The next winner is Katerina Lutz. Also winning this prize is Lily Smith. The Littlefield Mandel Prize in French is presented to Allison Marie Darling. The Faculty Prize in Classics is presented to Magdalene Fox Moore. The Edward F. O'Dowd Prize for Excellence in Latin is presented to Zoe Ziegler. The Nancy P. Norton Prize in History has two winners. The first is Courtney Cass. Also winning this award is Ashlyn Schubert. The Barbara Klinger Prize in Mathematics has three recipients. The first is William Chappell. The second recipient is Guy Crickmer. And the third recipient is Kushi Parikh. The Madeline F. Clark Wallace Mathematics Prize is presented to Guy Crickmer. The Fred Collett Prize in Mathematics and Computer Science has two recipients. The first is Hannah Ondrasik. Also winning this prize is Vivian Van Holland. Very good. The Garabedian Prize in Music is presented to Benjamin Lime. Don't go anywhere. The Edna D. Parks Prize in Music Theory is presented to Benjamin Lime. The Ella Lou Dimmock Award in Voice Performance is presented to George Miriam Lane. The Helen Zoe Duncan Prize in Piano Performance is presented to Benjamin Lyon. The Holcomb M. Austin Prize in Philosophy is presented to Tanvi Kshatriya. Sure. If somebody who's close to the windows can crack them a little bit to get some airflow in here, that would be appreciated. It's coming from the president, so do it. Thank you. And now back to our program. The Tanya Francis Richards Sicard from the class of '05 Memorial Prize in Philosophy has two winners. The first is Tyler Brissell from the class of '27. Also from the class of '27 is David Sharp. The H.M. Postra Landis Prize in Physics is presented to Savannah Rudzinski. The Darlene Borowiak Prize in Political Science is presented to Paxton Flynn Phillips. The Daniel Lewin Prize in Political Science has two winners. The first is Jessica Chamberlain. This prize is also presented to Peyton Mueller. The Abby McCloskey from the class of '92 Memorial Prize in International Relations is presented to Fathia Aromire. The Meg L. Cairns class of '99 Prize in Psychology is presented to Tori Tafaro. The David Wolf Prize in Psychology is presented to Olivia Burdash. The J. Arthur Martin Prize in Religion is presented to Tess Johnson, class of '28. The Lydia J. Dorman Prize in Religion has two winners. The first is Grace Levy. This prize is also presented to Jude Tuminello. The Prudence G. Lusky Memorial Prize in Russian Studies has two winners. The first is William Bazin. The second winner is Ann Kaylin Mulvaney. The Villers Prize in Science has two winners. The first is Ashley Barreto. This prize is also awarded to Malia Ilani Gentile. The Lucretia C. Mott Prize in Sociology is presented to Lee Einbinder. The Burlingame Knowles Prize in Spanish is presented to Michaela Elsa Loughborough. The Lillian Hellman Prize in Theater and Dance is presented to Elias Coey. The Theater and Dance Award for Excellence in Acting has two winners. The first is Ariana Jimenez Laurent. This award is also presented to Declan Kennedy. The Theater and Dance Award for Technical and Design Excellence is presented to Ben Zaborski. The Theater and Dance Award for Dance has two recipients. The first is Addie Buseko. Also winning this award is Cassandra Helene. The Maimu Superiore EO Prize in Women and Gender Studies has two recipients. The first is Jordan De Alessandro. Also winning this prize is Myri Travis. Congratulations. At this point in the program, I invite President Whelan to present the Wheaton College Scholarships and Awards.
The Phi Beta Kappa Grace Shepherd Scholarship is awarded to Joy Schmutz. The Phi Beta Kappa Graduate Scholarship is awarded to a member of the class of 2025, Daphne Gem Pietro. The Phi Beta Kappa Ruth Redding Graduate Scholarship is awarded to Sandasi Balasuriya. The Linda Frances Epstein Class of '82 Award is given to Michael O'Gara. There are 3 recipients of the Sally Gail Gilman Award. Lauren Lopez. Elizabeth McKinley. Daniel Pina. The Howard Meneely Prize has 3 recipients. Lee Einbinder. Katie Halley. Paxton Flynn Phillips. The Julia Lang Fellowship has 4 recipients. Ashlyn Burt. Jordan Cook. Abigail Martin. And John Speck. The Helen and Irma Wheaton Fellowship is awarded to Ian Antonio Gomez McCann, Class of '24. The Jane Ruby Fellowship is awarded to Kushi Parikh. The Gerald Zurf Graduate Fellowship is awarded to Jenna Beebe, Class of '24. I'd now like to call on the Class of 2026 Chair, Prabhiti Mala. To present the Senior Class Faculty Appreciation Award.
Good evening, Wheaton College. It is such an honor to stand here tonight on the behalf of Class of 2026 and announce the recipient of the 2026 Senior Faculty Appreciation Award. As I read through the nominations, one thing stood out right away. We didn't write about the people behind the teaching. Instead, we wrote about the professors who stayed after class to answer questions, who noticed when something was off, and who made it easier to ask for help. We wrote about the people who have helped shape our experience here and supported us along the way. This year's finalists are Professor Michael Berg, Professor Max Monticelli, and Professor C.C. Chapman. Each one of them has made a lasting impact on students in ways that go far beyond teaching. Students describe Professor Berg as someone who is not only incredibly knowledgeable, but deeply kind and compassionate. One student wrote that he's a very kind professor who loves his job and cares about his students. Another shared that he does everything in his power to make sure students feel accommodated, no matter what the challenge is. His willingness to show up, to listen, and to create space where students feel supported leaves an unforgettable mark. One student even shared something that he said on the very first day of class that has stayed with them. Be the person who waves. Everyone will wave back. And I think that says so much, not just about who he is as a person, but about how he builds community. Professor Monticelli's impact is just as powerful. Students talked about his energy, his generosity, and how he invests in students far beyond what is expected. One student wrote, "He will do whatever it takes for students to be successful. I would not be the person I am without Max." Another described him as a mentor and friend for all 4 years, someone who constantly encouraged them and helped them grow. What stood out the most were the stories about the extra things, the support for performances, the check-ins outside of classes, the willingness to help even when there was no obligation to do so. If Professor Michaele Berg and Professor Monticelli are here tonight, I would like to ask you to both stand so we can recognize and thank you. And now, to this year's recipient. Students spoke about walking into his office and immediately feeling welcomed. They talk about conversations that never felt rushed and about knowing they could always come back again and again. One student wrote, "He's always there, academically and personally." Another one said, "I know I can talk to him about absolutely anything." What made these nominations even more meaningful was how consistent they were. They came from students across different majors and different experiences, including some who have never taken his classes. Literally, though. One student wrote, "I have never personally had this professor, but I have never heard a single negative thing about him." And I think that says everything, because it means his impact is felt across this entire campus. Students talked about how he helped them discover their passion, how he connected them to opportunities they never imagined for themselves, and how he challenged them to grow while still making them feel supported along the way. A student shared, "I would not be where I am without him." Another student described what it felt like to walk into his office and how the space was set up in a way that made them feel comfortable and be easy to be there. That kind of environment only happens when thought and intention is put in, and it shows that you were thinking about the students even before they walk in. It is not about what someone teaches, but how they show up and how they listen and how they make people feel. At the end of the day, we may forget specific lectures or assignments, but we do not forget the people who made us feel supported. We do not forget the people who reminded us that we belonged here. And we certainly do not forget the people who took time to care. So it is my honor to announce the 2026 Senior Faculty Appreciation Award goes to Professor C.C. Chapman. Sorry, a few more things. Professor Chapman, your impact on this community comes through in the nominations, the stories, and in the students who have been shaped by your support. On the behalf of Class of 2026, thank you for everything you do, and congratulations.
I thought I had a couple more years before I'd be standing up here getting all emotional with my posse. Love you too, man. All right. Thank you, Class of 2026, for this honor. Thank you to my colleagues and friends. Thank you to the business department and all we've built over these past 8 years I've been here. To Ken Bray, where is he? Where's Ken? Ken, where are you? I'm not gonna, hey, to Ken Bray, who was the first professor I met who mentored me throughout this time here. To my wife, love you. Who's always supported my dreams and desires no matter how challenging they would be. Thank you all. All right, so 4 years ago, you began your journey here at college, at Wheaton. At that same time, I was beginning a journey of my own. I want to tell you about because I hope it makes everyone realize just how much I care about teaching here. So teachers and librarians have had huge impacts on my life. Mrs. Carr told me I could read books above my reading level. Mrs. Mursky gave me the nickname Cece. Mr. Davenport, 4th grade, let me play with these new boxes in the room called computers. And Mrs. Pett, God bless Mrs. Pett in 5th grade, said to an energetic Cece, hey, have you ever thought about doing drama? Changed my life, love her. I was not a great student. I sucked at school. I hate busy work, that's why I try not to give you any. I hate writing papers about things I'm not interested in. I hate exams, hate them. So when Dr. Lauder said to me, you know, Cece, you should go get a master's degree because we're gonna want you to teach in the 4+1 program. It was the last thing I wanted to hear. But Leanna is an amazing department chair, a mentor and a friend, and I knew she was right and I had to do it. So, as you were all moving onto Wheaton as first-year students, I was starting a 2-year online graduate program at Arizona State University. Forks up. Got to do it. On top of teaching three courses a semester, advising over 30 students, doing service, doing all sorts of stuff on campus, I was attending graduate school so that I could better serve you, the Wheaton community. Somehow in the May of 2024, I graduated with an MA in communication with a 4.0 GPA. So I was told this wasn't worthy to share at a faculty meeting, so I had to share it with all you guys tonight. If you told me in 1996, when I was a student about to graduate from Bentley University, that almost 50 years later I'd be in a cap and gown again, sitting in my seat receiving a diploma in the hot Arizona sun while students in Davis House were watching the ceremony and sending me videos of it, broke my heart. I would have laughed at you. This award means so much to me because my goal is really, really simple. I want to do everything in my power to help all of you. And I look out and I see a whole bunch of faces that I've helped over the years. I think I have. I don't care if you're in one of my classes. I don't care if we're just crossing the dimple. My door is always open and I'm ready to help you if I can. Yes, I am going to deduct 10 points from your assignments when you take your name off. Anybody lose 10 points on any of my assignments? But I'm also going to stay late to talk to you about your relationship issues. Yes, I'm going to call in every favor I can to get you an internship. And yes, I'm going to help you get a reply from somebody on this campus who's not replying to you when they should be. Now listen, I am a non-tenured tenure track faculty member. I'm not required to do research. My focus is supposed to be on teaching. And sometimes, that's not celebrated as much. But as I speak to you tonight, my contract's about to expire in a month. I don't know what's going on in the fall yet, so we'll see what happens. So goes the life of a non-tenured track faculty member. But I want you to know that as I look down at all my inspiring colleagues here, right? If someone is teaching at Wheaton College, it's because they want to teach you, the kind of students we have here, which are amazing. Now listen, many of us are underpaid, we're overworked, it's just the reality of the world we're in. Yet we come to campus every day because we want to make you all better humans. We want to help you go to all the corners of the globe, do amazing things, and have successful careers in whatever you might do. Now, if you know me and you've been in my classroom before, you know I don't sugarcoat things. I'm a New Englander, it's just the way I am. Your 20s are going to be hard. You're going to try to figure everything out, but you're not going to. You'll switch jobs. You'll fall in and out of love. You'll move. You'll struggle. You'll question and wonder. But we've all gone through it. It's normal, I promise. Now, nothing is normal about the world you're about to enter. It's dark. It's perilous out there. I wake up every morning and what kind of new hell's going to unroll overnight. It's a scary time. But you have to find the light. You have to find the things that make you happy and that you can change for the better. Cherish those things. Hold them close to you. Fight like hell for the things you're passionate about. You are what keep me fighting. I would much rather take my wife, Flora, run to a cabin in the woods, hang out with my dogs, and just chill. I would love that. But I can't. It's in my DNA to be a helper. It's just how I was raised. Yes, even after you leave, I'm only a DM or an email away, and I would bet any of the faculty here to celebrate you would do the same. They're here for you. Class of 2026, thank you for this honor. It means a lot. It confirms that what I'm doing is right, and my approach is right, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. Now, I want to leave you with some words from my dear, dear buddy, Brad Montague, who recently wrote this, and I thought it was very, very fitting. Wherever and however you go, communicate hope. This is not a request for ignoring the bad. That's toxic positivity. This is a joyful rebellion. This is an active working and fighting for a better, more helpful, more joyful future together. Tell the truth. And the truth is, there are challenges, but also the overcoming of them. There is coldness, but there's also compassion. There are terrible problems, but also tremendous possibilities. Tell us of the darkness in this world, but also the courageous, creative responses to it. The stories we tell can help create the world we live in. Cynicism is lazy. Hope punk takes work. There's a good word for you, Joel. Let's get to work. Thank you again, and congratulations to class of 2026. Let's go, Wheat!
Thank you, CC, and congratulations to you. It gives me great pleasure now to announce the recipients of this year's endowed faculty professorships. These professorships recognize outstanding teaching, research, and service. The endowed faculty professorships have been created by generous gifts from alumni and friends of Wheaton in honor of people who have served the college, notably over time. Before I announce the new recipients, I'd like to thank the members of this year's Endowed Professorship Selection Committee, Professors Yanni Benoit, Charlotte Meehan, and Aubrey Westphal. The first endowed professorship is the Mary Hoiser Endowed Professorship in the Arts, which was established to recognize outstanding teaching and research in the arts at Wheaton and is open to faculty in music, theater, art, and creative writing. The holder of this professorship will extend his or her artistic and pedagogical reach by developing a palette of novel, eco-friendly materials and building a portfolio of national-scale public art projects. This work builds on dedication to public-facing pedagogy that treats students as partners in the creative process, as well as many contributions to public art at Wheaton and beyond. Over the course of this year's winter career at Wheaton, he has introduced students to the possibilities of artistic expression through diverse courses at Forefront Art as a vital form of communication. Further, he has served Wheaton students through intensive mentorship roles, provided long-standing departmental leadership, and contributed deeply to the revitalization of public art on our campus. In addition to his teaching and mentorship, he is a distinguished and prolific artist who has participated in numerous group and solo exhibitions, facilitated community-based art projects, and installed permanent sculptures in his Continuous Line series in 5 U.S. states and Gwangju, South Korea. I am pleased to pronounce that the Mary Hoiser Endowed Professorship is awarded to Kelly Goff, Professor of Art. Congratulations. I was going to have you stand and be acknowledged, but I think you stood, but thank you and congratulations. The next endowed professorship is the Jane Oxford Kiter from the class of '64 endowed professorship. This is awarded to a member of the faculty in the humanities or social sciences for outstanding teaching and research that strengthens Wheaton's traditional liberal arts curriculum and reinforces its commitment to scholarship and creative teaching. The holder of this professorship will further expand the global reach of her courses and enhance them with the explicit application of transferable professional skills. Her work builds on her long-standing commitment to professionalizing students through pedagogical engagement with the public humanities. In addition, her book project will bring a greater depth of knowledge to the influence of Muslim culture on European art in the early 20th century. Over the course of their career at Wheaton, this year's recipient has developed and taught many innovative art history courses of the modern period. She has also organized and facilitated charitable art auctions led by Wheaton students, which again blends pedagogical rigor with professional skill building. In addition to her extensive teaching and mentorship, she is a distinguished scholar of Henri Matisse, his art bringing some of his lesser-known works to widespread attention through her books, edited volumes, and multiple exhibition catalog essays. She has recently been named Ruth R. Marder Center for Matisse Studies Fellow at the Baltimore Museum of Art. I am pleased to announce that the Jane Oxford Keeter 64 Endowed Professorship is awarded to Ellen McBreen, Professor of the History of Art. Congratulations. I need to take off my glasses so I can make eye contact. The last endowed professorship is the Dorothy Reed Williams Professorship in the Social Sciences. Established to recognize excellence in scholarship and teaching, the Williams Professorship is awarded to a member of the social sciences faculty who encourages students to use their talents in service to the community and the society in which they live. The holder of this professorship will expand opportunities for experiential learning in the social sciences, including the revival of a winter internship program placing Wheaton students in urban public schools. This work builds on a long-standing commitment to preparing students to teach in under-resourced communities and to engage meaningfully with issues of equity and access in education. Over the course of his career at Wheaton, this year's recipient has guided more than 100 students toward careers in education, with the vast majority going on to secure teaching positions. Many of these graduates have chosen to work in urban and high-need school districts, reflecting his emphasis on community engagement and public service. In addition to his teaching and mentorship, he is a distinguished scholar of the history of American higher education, and his ongoing research continues to explore important questions about teaching, learning, and equity. I am pleased to announce that the Dorothy Reed Williams Professorship is awarded to Scott Gelber, Professor of Education. And congratulations again to all three. At this point in the ceremony, I would like to congratulate all of our award recipients and all of our graduating seniors. The work that you have done here at Wheaton has prepared you for the work that you will go out and do in the rest of the world. And now I would like to invite Dr. Darnell Parker to the podium for a few final remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. And congratulations again to the class of 2026. Give yourselves a round of applause again. One of the special things about Wheaton is that we get to come together in this place to celebrate your academic achievements. You don't get to see that at large universities or other institutions, and this is why the liberal arts is such an important element. So I really look forward to calling your names correctly on May 16th. at 9:30 in the morning. Do not be late. Please drink plenty of water beforehand. At this time, I ask everyone to please rise and join us with George Lane in singing of the Wheaton Anthem. And I will also ask that everyone please stay standing as the procession processes out. And if the spirit moves you, like we used to do in day camp, close the window with you on the way out. All right.
We will sing the first verse, the third verse, and the fifth verse of the Wheaton Anthem.
something that